Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Really glad you could join me today out here in the vegetable garden. It's a beautiful day here in August. You know, it's approaching the end of August here. It's a nice low humidity day. You know, those great days for working out in the garden when you're really not sweating as much. But anyhow, today I thought we would go harvest these tasty and delicious Detroit dark red beets. And so really looking forward to harvesting some of these. So thanks for joining me today out here in the vegetable garden. So here in Pennsylvania, Zone 6, our frost date is May 15th. And so back in the middle of March, I direct sowed some of these Detroit dark red beets. This is actually one of the packs that I used. But anyhow, what I did back then was I had an old pack of seeds from the year before that I direct sowed some out in the garden, maybe 2 8-foot rows. And only like half of them came up, and I really used all the seeds in the pack. So you know, I did eat those red beets obviously, and but I was not happy with the harvest. So what I did is, come June, I went out and bought this brand new pack of red beet seeds and direct sowed them like right in the first week of June. And so, you know, they've really done well. That's maybe something that I've learned, is to always use a fresh pack of red beets seeds, you know, every year. You know, maybe you've had success in the past using seeds from the previous year, but for me anyhow, I went out and bought 2 of these packs, and I just love my red beets here. But you know, behind every red beet pack, they do give you some helpful information here. It says these Detroit dark reds are our most popular beet variety. Detroit dark red is delicious and unbeatable for canning and pickling. It has a robust, sweet flavor with an intense, bright, crimson red color. The 13 to 16 inch glossy tops are tasty and nutritious greens rich in vitamin A and C. And it takes about 58 days for maturity. And you sow these about a ½ inch in the soil, you know, and I space the seeds almost about every inch and a half apart. That way if some don't come up, at least I'll still have plenty of seeds in the row. I also grew these in my composted leaf mulch that was amended with topsoil, and you know, you want to provide a good rich soil for these to grow in, and also provide a good 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. Also back in June, I have 3 areas that I planted in my garden. I did plant some under a row cover in one of my 4-foot by 8-foot raised beds. And then I have a couple other areas that I planted. Wherever I had a few openings, I direct sowed these in the garden. And they really did well when I direct sowed them in June. It seemed like the soil was nice and warm, and they just really took off really nice. And you know, these beautiful beet greens too, you know, with the greens, you know, they're very similar to Swiss chard. You know, Swiss chard is basically the same as red beets. It just doesn't have the beet itself on it. But you know, we just love these beet greens. You can steam them and have them as a side dish, or you know, we also use these beet greens in our smoothies that we have every day. So anyhow, why don't we go harvest these beautiful red beets? So follow me along. two areas that we'll harvest these red beets from is, I have a few right here in front of me. I planted about 2-3 foot rows of red beets, and right behind me in my row cover is where we'll harvest from the other rows. So why don't we take a closer look at these beautiful red beets. You know, the one thing I find interesting is how these red beets, you know, they almost grow right up on top of the soil here. In the way they just lift up as they grow, and, you know, they don't seem to have a problem growing at all, but obviously you can see the little root here. I also eat the whole root too. I don't really waste anything on these red beets. In fact, I end up using our Instapot pressure cooker to cook these red beets in. I think I cook them for around 15 minutes at pressure, and then just slow release the pressure at that point. And I even just let them sit in there longer if they need a little bit more heat to make them softer. But yeah, we just love these fresh red beets from the garden. They just have a nice, rich, buttery flavor. So anyhow, why don't we start harvesting some of these and put them in the basket, and then we'll take the row cover off next to me and we'll harvest more of these. So again, another nice, beautiful red beet. I have two right here in front of me that we can also harvest. So you can just see how beautiful they are. I think 3 of these are like almost $3 in the market, so they're almost $1 a piece. You know, depending on where you buy them. Obviously, you can probably get them cheaper, but yeah, we just love our homegrown red beets. Nothing like them. So I have 6 red beets here that I harvested so far, and I'm going to take this row cover off now. I have like 4 8-foot rows in that one bed that I planted, but this is what I harvested so far. And so why don't we take a closer look at these beautiful Detroit red beets. I also grew these underneath my spun-bonded polyester row covers, you know, my low tunnel hoop houses that I use throughout my garden. I did that as an experiment to see how these would do compared to those that weren't underneath the row cover. And certainly, you know, none of the leaves have, or very few of the leaves have any bugs that were eating them. They certainly seem a little bit healthier plant overall. And you know, you can grow anything underneath the row cover as long as it doesn't produce flowers, you know, something that would need the bees to, you know, pollinate. And so, you know, all your greens, I grow my broccoli under row covers, my kale, my cauliflower or cabbage, you know, those plants that are in the brassica family, I plant underneath my row covers to protect it from that cabbage butterfly, you know, that whitish yellowish butterfly you see flying around your garden. Well, that's what lays the eggs underneath your brassica leaves, and it, you know, develops into a worm which just destroys the plants. And so these have done really well growing underneath row covers. So I have about 6 red beets harvested so far. I just want to harvest about another 6 more and then put them all in the pressure cooker when I'm done. You also want to harvest, you know, if you have your rows of them, you can harvest the larger red beets out in between the smaller ones. Obviously, that way that'll free up the smaller ones, give it more space for them to grow. You also want to gently pull them out. You can see these leaves are intertwined, but that's a really good size red beet right there. They're just beautiful red beets. So I got 4. I'm going to pick 2 more. You know, you can also pick these beet greens that you get from these. You can pick them earlier in the season too. You don't have to wait till they're mature. You know, you can pick 1 or 2 from each plant throughout the growing season. That way you can get these leaves a lot earlier. Again, these are very similar to your Swiss chard leaves. And so I'm just looking in some of these back rows for some larger ones to pick out. I'm also looking forward to storing these over the winter time. That's one reason I grew so many red beets this year. And so why don't we take a minute and go wash these over at my hose over there at my garden station. I always like cleaning most of my vegetables outdoors before I bring them in the house. It just gets the majority of the dirt off them, a little less wear and tear on the kitchen. Anyhow, I just want to thank you for joining me today out here in the vegetable garden, harvesting these delicious and tasty Detroit red beets. And if you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the section below. And you can also visit us at plantsmartliving.com. And there you can learn more about gardening and also how you can reclaim your health by adopting a whole food, plant-based, vegan lifestyle. Well, anyhow, I just want to thank you for joining me today out here in the garden. I hope you have a wonderful day. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.